Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to yet another exciting edition of the IWFI series, put together by the Institute for Work and Family Integration, a research, education, and advocacy organization in the front line of work and family issues, recognized as the Distinguished Family Organization in Africa by the Secretary General of the United Nations in a 2018 report. The Institute for the past decade has advocated for family responsible policies in companies. Voila, here we are with this pandemic and its novel opportunities as well as challenges. Living together in this period of the lockdown is a unique opportunity to grow in marital love and friendship. The marriage relationship team at the Institute has been studying trends and coping strategies in marriages during this COVID-19 lockdown. Working from home with all the stress, anxiety, and worry over uncertainties. In this webinar series, we shall examine some of these new challenges and opportunities open to couples to grow in happiness as the country fights the coronavirus pandemic. Last week, we covered issues bordering on stress and anxiety. Today, we shall zoom into communication, speaking to be heard, productivity at work when you're working from home, with your spouse working from home, and children schooling from home, how to negotiate with the family. With me in the studio this evening are a member of the Board of Trustees of the Institute, who has facilitated several sessions in communication, conflict management, and negotiation at the prestigious Lagos Business School. She is the current Dean of the School of Business Administration and Social Sciences of the Pan-Atlantic University, Professor Chantal Epie. Chantal, you want to say hi to our audience?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We also have with us our beloved founder and co-founder of the Institute for Work and Family Integration, Sir Charles and Mrs. Gloria Osezua, certified marriage therapists who have been helping couples over the past decade grow in happiness. Sir Charles and Mrs. Gloria Osezua, you want to say hi to our audience?
Hello, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, depending on where you are, morning or good evening.
Yeah.
So we are good to go. So we said the ground rules. Your unanswered questions of last week will be treated in today's session. Please post your your questions into the Q&A section. You will find it at the bottom of your screen. Yes, you find it at the bottom of your screen. I am Charles Aigbana, the Executive Secretary of the Institute. I shall be your host. So let's get started. I'd like to begin with you, Sir Charles Osezua. With the coronavirus pandemic, many people are working from home with stress and anxiety enveloping families. How do you achieve productivity targets and ensure families and ensure happiness in marriage during this period? What are the sources of potential conflicts and mitigations that you can share with us? Sir Charles, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Charles. I think, let me be sure first that I understood your question. First, we're talking about working from home and productivity. Second, I think if I got you correctly, we are talking about sources of conflicts and mitigation to ensure the family remain a happy and cheerful home. If I got that correct,
Yes,
give me a signal.
right.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the point here for me, Charles, is that as an institute, we always advocated working from home and a flexible schedule, schedule, as a way of improving productivity in the workplace and reducing staff turnover. Of course, we know the commuting and all those challenges forced staff sometimes to just give up the job. But these were all backed up by studies. And what those studies showed us was that if you adopt a policy that allows staff to work from home and have flexible schedule where they come to the office maybe once a week, productivity actually goes up. Study shows at least by 13%. Secondly, it shows that staff turnover is reduced by at least 50%. These were very significant and motivators for employers to put in place such policies. But today, the circumstances that enabled that are no longer there thanks to COVID-19. Today, working from home is not voluntary. We are compelled to work from home. Even when it's being lifted in some places, it's not everybody that is being allowed to come to work. In Lagos, we know at least only 60%, if your office can accommodate them, are expected at work. Similarly, we know today it's not everybody that is working from home that has an office at home, or indeed has the infrastructure, power, and internet. Children are out of school, and they are transiting to online classes. Parents have become full-time teachers. Of course, we have to deal with all the other environmental issues, the distractions that come with all our spousal responsibilities, even as workers trying to work from home. All these have impacted productivity. And so now let me try to address, I think to address your question specifically, Charles, we have to look at it from two perspectives. The perspective of the employer and the perspective of the spouse who has to leave, or maybe both of them are working from home. So we look at it from that perspective. Now from the, but I said there's something common to both of them, as which I'll say is understanding. Because the circumstances are not right, the employer, to expect increased productivity, needs to show more understanding to his workers, because the circumstances are not just right. The same thing we have to look at the spouse. Today, for the officer or spouse working from home to meet his productivity targets, he has to manage all these other issues I just enumerated. I call them the hierarchy of priorities. Well, you see, even with the best effort, we are bound to drop some. There'll be some. And what do you expect from your spouse? Some understanding. Unfortunately, just like you said, in an emotionally charged environment with stress and anxiety, instead of understanding, what we observe is spouses express their frustration, anger, indeed, criticism, and all this impact relationship. So what happens therefore is that you find a situation in the family where there's emotional shutdown. You know, what I like to call sometimes phases. So frustration, anger, criticism, emotional shutdown. Why do I call it phases? Precisely because spouses are not able to face each other. And so everybody wants to walk their own way. But you know, the reality is that it is a vicious circle. Like we said last week, we all have the right, the freedom, let me emphasize freedom of choice. And no, not COVID-19, nobody can take it from us. We have the freedom to decide how we respond to stresses and anxiety and the challenges therein. We can choose the negative part, which I say, letting our emotion run us, respond purely to pure emotion, and act accordingly. Well, that takes us to our natural animal instinct. And we create mayhem in our home, where you do me, I do you. And it doesn't help anybody. The marriage suffers. Now, but we have the alternative to be more positive, even with these challenges. You know, last week we were talking about be proactive, take charge. When you are overwhelmed, you stop, reflect, and think through. In this case, reflect on face. You know, the irony of the face I used just now, it's two sides of a coin. One is pure emotion, but the other is the understanding and reasonableness. When you also look at the acronym face, it talks about forgiveness, okay, adaptability, communication, and empathy. Put yourself in the position of your spouse who is juggling so many things. And if you take it from that point of view, you find you recreate that understanding. You'll be more understanding of each other's situation. Now, that is explaining the challenges. But let me quickly comment on I know my time was going, comment on the last part of your question. What do you do? You know, it remains the same thing, planning. We need to plan in this more critically than ever before. All the issues and activities we've talked about, we need to have a family plan that encompasses everybody's interest. Accordingly, you can now determine or create space for your work, for your spouse, for your children, and the education of these children. And if you have to share space, assuming you have no offices in the house, even if you have, I don't think you have 3 or 4 offices in your house anyway, nobody has it. If you have to share space, you cannot do time sharing. Activities can also be allocated at the time when those activities are going to perform. And as a spouse, if you are the one responsible, well, you know at that stage you are going to be there. But it's good for you in that they also know when you are doing your work. So you sort of have some equilibrium in the use of time and use of space. I'll conclude by saying, review this plan every evening before you go to bed. That way you realign issues and ensure that things have not changed, you know, during the day. Charles, I hope I have not taken too much time, but I just wanted to explain a little bit more the point so that we all have clarity. Yeah, there are a lot of conflicts, but it is an opportunity for us to grow in love. And in loving, we are bound, the whole process is to change us for the better. And so it's not to send us back to the animal stage, but for us to be better and grow in our effort to be true lovers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Charles. Last week, many of the questions bordered on communication. So that brings me on to you now, Professor Chantal, APA. Can you share with us some principles of communication which would come in handy in this period? Chantal,
well, yes. Well, I think Charles mentioned something like this there. We have to communicate properly, but you have to be aware of yourself in a positive sense, and try to understand the other person in the current circumstances where movement is very limited, and we tend to be there at home, even if we could go out, but many people are scared, so you end up staying like this. Very easily you start getting anxious, you start getting, well, introvert people don't have too much problem. Extrovert people can get completely. So we have to realize, each person has to realize one thing: what is my objective? I want peace and joy in the house. Second, let me get aware. I must be aware of my own mood. If I am irritated, I feel irritated, I feel stressed, I have to be careful before I say something, because very easily, you know, what we say, the mouth speaks out of the abundance of the heart, it says. Well, if I am irritated, I'm going to talk probably in an irritated way. And the other person, the others may think that I'm irritated with them, which is not exactly that. So we've got to be careful a bit about what we say. Sometimes I know that something tends to irritate the other person, so I shouldn't say it. I have to find another way. And when there is love really in the family, I think we know the others, we know how they would react, we know what they need. So the thing is to go the extra mile to communicate in a way that will be positively received by the other person and by the children as well. That's yeah, I think that's the most important. That's the most important thing, really. Try to understand the other person, understand their concern, understand their moods, and then speak in such a way that we are not going to be throwing oil onto the fire, but precisely trying to calm the spirits.
Yeah, as you were speaking, my mind was a word, the phrase shared meaning was coming to my mind. So what is this principle of shared meaning?
Get to you now. I have to take a private jet. It's $1,000 each way.
Well, I mean, shared meaning, yes. Sometimes, I'm sure we've all experienced sometimes.
Yeah. Cheaper than the whole.
When people speak at cross purposes, I mean one thing, I'm trying to say something, and the other person misunderstands completely, interprets it in a different way. So yes, in communication, we have to develop shared meaning. We have to know each other. We have to know one another and create experiences in common so that we have, yes, we can have very many different opinions and so on, but still there is a lot of shared meaning. We understand what the other is saying because it means the same thing. You know, for some people, the father is a loving somebody. For other people who have not been so lucky in their life, a father is somebody who yields the stick. So the word father will evoke something very different in one and in the other. So in the family, we have to create a lot of common experiences, doing things together, sharing good memories, so that when we talk, we understand each other because we understand what the other person means.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chantal. That brings me on to you, Gloria. How does communication style affect our marriage relationship in conflict management during this period of the lockdown?
Thank you very much, Charles. I'd like to start by stating the fact that love is the lifeline of marriage, and communication is the lubricant of that love. And we all know what lubricants do. You know, they reduce or eliminate friction and allow for free movement of the parts without, causing any wear and tear of those parts. If our communication is right, that is what it should also do for our marriage relationship. Our communication, should reduce friction and allow free flow of love and affection between the spouses, making it easier to manage conflict without wounding each other. So I dare to ask, does your communication style, does it achieve this in your relationship? Does your communication style allow you to be listened to when you speak? That is a question for another day. And many of us are work in progress when it comes to that. So how do we achieve this? Some styles have been mentioned here and there, but I will just focus on a couple so we'll be able to, understand. So for us to have that communication that lubricates, we have to first choose the right time. Our choice of time of dialogue becomes very important. Very important. You have emotional timing, that time when your spouse is in a good mood. Then you have the physical timing when there is less distraction. I'm talking about less distraction. It reminds me of when we were young in marriage, and anytime we had a disagreement, my husband would say, "Oh, we are going to talk about it later." At the beginning, when we, at night when he wakes me up and says, "Oh, we have to discuss, the issue of this afternoon," I usually was like, "Hey, this is such an unholy hour. Why would you wake me up at this time for such discussion?" But it turned out that it actually worked for us, and we were able to resolve, disagreements without any distraction from the children or from, visitors or telephone. So it became our 3 a.m. Board meeting, we like to call it, and it became part of our family ritual. But for you, it doesn't have to be, 3 a.m. or in the night. You can choose a time that works for you. The important thing is for you to choose the right time, that your spouse can listen to you and can hear you out. Then the other very, very important point we have to, I will mention is the choice of language. The choice of language. What we say may be important, but how we say them, carries so much weight, so much weight. So therefore, we have to choose our words. We have to choose our words very, very carefully, very carefully. We should learn to choose words that build up rather than words that break down. Because if you break down your spouse, you too will be half broken, because you are two people that have become one. So we have to be mindful how we say what we say. And I like to draw our attention, to very, very important words, which are very critical to the survival of our relationship. And I like us to take note of them. One is criticism. When you talk and, insult your spouse, attack their personality or character. The other one is defensiveness, when you make your own problem, your own fault, to be the fault of your spouse. And the third one is contempt, when you treat your spouse as if they are dirt under your feet, which they are not. And of course, like Charles has mentioned, stonewalling, not willing, shutting down emotionally, not willing to respond to your spouse anymore, and having it, your way. We have to be careful, because these 4 words are usually referred to by, therapists as the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the 4 horsemen. And when you think back about the apocalypse, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, what did they do? They brought death, they brought famine, they brought, and all that to the world. And that's exactly how these 4 words work in our relationship. So we don't want to kill our relationship. Then we have to manage and what we say and how we say them and to whom we are saying them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gloria. I'll move on to you, Professor Chantal, because at the Institute, we profess that the principles which apply in business can also be applied to the family, treating the family as the most important business. So I know how this phrase can be magical. We are saying the same thing, right? As coin fires in boardrooms and in different social gatherings. So can you share with us some principles of negotiations that could be applicable in this period of the lockdown in families?
Oh, yes. Well, basic principles that apply really in all situations, and they can really work wonders. The fact that negotiation means we don't want to fight, we want to solve a problem. So there is a problem because you want this and I want that. So we're not going to fight, we're going to study the matter. And that means that, first of all, you see, if I want the other person to listen, I have to listen first and ask, what is it that you want really? Because we want to reconcile interests. Actually, in the family, we should avoid these days sticking to position. I want this. We have to ask ourselves, why is it that I want it? Why is it that you want it? Because then you realize that there is a basic interest which that person is pursuing. And you can usually satisfy your interest in more than just one way. So the idea is that, what am I interested in? What are you interested in? And then we realize that we have a lot in common. In the family, necessarily, we have a lot in common. And in negotiation and in conflict resolution, one of the first things to look at is common ground. Surely, yes, we disagree on certain things, but there are surely some things we agree with. So let's look at that. What is it we have in common? This already takes away from the feeling of rivalry or battle. We have a lot of things in common. So now, let's see if we can build on that and not get stubborn. So, like this one, what if we do this? Because like this, I'll be happy with this, and I think you might be happy with that too. So, putting on the table various options. What if we did this? What if we solved it that way? But always based on this common ground. We must have common objectives. A family where there are no common objectives is really a family in trouble. So let's look at those common objectives and find a way to satisfy them. So it's always in negotiation, we cannot just be thinking, I have to get what I want. But perhaps sometime in business negotiation, but certainly not in family negotiation. No, it's not that I have to get what I want. No, I have to get enough of what I want to make me happy, but I have to do it also by giving to the other one enough of what he or she wants, so that we both feel satisfied. None of them feel slighted or neglected, but rather feels loved because there has been communication, there has been an exchange of views, and there has been a common effort to find a solution which satisfies our objectives as a family or our objectives as a couple, and that makes everybody happy.
Thank you very much, Professor Chantal. Talking of negotiation, under the current dispensation of working from home, how do you negotiate with the family so that you get work done and keep happiness in marriage, even in this period of the COVID-19? Sir Charles, can you throw some light on that? If you mute your mic, we'll be grateful.
Thank you for reminding me.
Lovely.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Charles, again for the question. But I think Chantal has set a platform for us to deal with this question. Negotiating between work and family to get some work done. I think if I got your question correctly. Now, but there's a common objective. Work and family, I should emphasize, are not in conflict. We are in pursuit of happiness. And work and family are the two spheres or platforms in which we get happiness. We achieve happiness. We achieve happiness through our work. I mean, let's put this: happiness and emotion is the feeling we get when we achieve our goals at work or in the family, or indeed when we are loved, or we feel loved, or we love somebody. That's where we get the emotional feeling. Our life is built on the pursuit of happiness. So we are always trying to do things where we can feel that, sense of fulfillment. I have done it. The thumbs up thing. But now, how do you negotiate? Well, work and family complement each other. They have a common objective. So issue of negotiation does not arise there. But really, conflict arises because you and I, through the choices you and I make, is it the decisions I make, like we said last week, freedom. I have the freedom to decide where to get my happiness from. So there are opportunities for happiness in both platforms. But there are expectations in each platform. And when I respond more to the more tangible demands from work, to the detriment of the family, I create conflict. Conflict not between work and family, but between my decisions. Let me clarify that. The conflict will arise, it's like our daily life, Charles. What creates conflict in our lives? Conflict arises when somebody is deprived of his entitlement, or somebody feels cheated. The same thing happens in our lives. When there's an expectation in the family that is not fulfilled, I set up a situation for conflict. There's resentment. There's a sense of mistrust sets in. Also, all sorts of issues, stress builds into relationship, which builds up over time and can really destroy the marriage. But often we tend to say work and family. No, it's really our choices that create those conflicts. But how do we deal with them? 2 words: self-discipline and plan. When we plan, we create order, a conscious effort to create order and harmony in the things we do. We do at work, we do at home, in our social life, everything. We put them together. You can call them your plan of life, your religion and everything. Put them together. It's a conscious effort. So you have done it consciously. If we follow it with discipline, we'll create harmony in our lives. And those around us will also be able to rely on us because now there's clarity in the processes of our decisions. But more often than not, like I said, we respond to the more tangible and urgent demands of work. And we neglect that because very often we do not exercise that self-mastery, self-discipline. What do we do in business? Since you use the word, what works for business works for the family. It's so true. In business, also when I'm doing my projects, when I have my plans, if for some reason I have to vary it to do something that's more urgent, I have to have a recovery plan. The same thing. If for some reason I have to do something outside my plan, my spouse and family or children should know that I'm going to come back to make up, more so in this period of COVID-19, that I have a production deadline, and I need that time, extra time to finish it. I will negotiate. Only then the negotiation comes in, Charles. I will negotiate with them and tell them, look, I will come back and I will actually spend more time with you. That gives everybody hope and expectation. Like I was saying just now, this whole period is about growing in virtue. If I come back actually after finishing that piece of work and I spend time with the family doing what I was expected to do, I build trust. Trust is one of the key pillars of building a happy and cheerful home. When you maintain trust in your family, they know that your work takes you away, and they know you are coming to spend, people would like to say, quality time. I said, no, it's not quality time. Family don't need quality time. They need quantity time. Family want to see you around, to play with, to joke with, to be a father, a mother. Just be human. Be their teacher and be their friend. That's what family needs. So it takes a lot of time to do that, a lot of time to bond and to have that quiet time, all the things we do in our homes and family. So that's how you build your trust. But work, we need quality time. I need definite hours to finish my job, and I go back to the family, which re-energizes me so I can work the next day. So negotiation, yes, we negotiate when there's a deviation from the plan. And I think that's only where we deviate. And we build trust in the family if we go back to do that which we have promised and assure the family we will do, just like you and I go through in our offices. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If you are interested, living up to the name of the Institute, Institute for Work and Family Integration, both FEDs perfectly integrated. We'll be going to the question and answer session. Keep your question and answer, keep your questions coming into the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. Before we do that, I would like to hear from Gloria Osezua. How would you manage the use of gadgets to ensure there is healthy communication in marriage relationship?
Thank you, Charles. And in dealing with this question, it would be good to notify something. Before the COVID-19, couples, already had the challenge of getting, the attention of each other. Now, the COVID-19 lockdown has even made it more difficult. Now, everybody and everything is online. Schooling is online, working is online, playing is online sometimes. So you find everybody is into this new norm, this new normal of being online. So what do? What you find actually is that they hardly have time now with each other. They don't have much time to talk offline. You find, they are keeping company with other people that are far away, while their spouse who is with them is lonely, sometimes unknown to them. And also, you find some couples, they're even sitting, in front of each other across the room. They are sending text. Hello, what has happened to good old time conversation between spouses? That is what, these gadgets have brought to bear on marriage relationship. What do? We will not allow this to take away our joy and happiness. So we have to set basic guidelines to manage the use of these gadgets. They are good in themselves. It is just how we use them that needs to be controlled. We have to, set some basic rules to manage them. Have gadget-free sanctuaries. I call them sanctuaries. That means a time and a place where these gadgets should not be admitted. And one of that is family mealtime. During mealtime, there should not be gadgets around there. There should be answering or making a phone call, no matter how quick and soft and quiet it may be. Actually, I advise that they should not be there because the temptation is so high. If they are there, the tendency is to check quickly, oh, who is calling me? Is it the one I'm expecting? There's always that temptation. So we don't take them to the, our dining table because that is family time. That is one time we share love and happiness within the family to know how each person is carrying on. Then the other time should be when we are having just us time. That is the spouses I'm talking about. Just us time. We want to talk. Don't tell me what you are going to talk about Because couples are meant to gist. They're meant to gist. They're, gist about what? About anything, everything, sweet nothings. Because that is how they get their, couple power, their couple energy together. So during that time, shouldn't be a time to be making a phone call or be receiving one. Unless it's been arranged that, hey, during our family, our just us time, we are going to call my mom or call your dad. And that is part of our own, life and time. Other than that, there shouldn't be any of, those kind of, phone calls. Just us time means we have to give full attention to each other, because your spouse needs to know that when they are talking to you, that they got your attention. If it doesn't make sense when they are talking, you use one hand to say, hey, I'm coming, excuse me, and you are doing something else. So that full attention is required, because it makes them know that they are important, as well as what they are saying is important. And that has to be, understood by the spouses. Then again, when your spouse, needs that attention, we should give it. We should tell them that, we care about them. I get you, and I will do whatever it is that needs to be done. We should have a time as well that we shut down in the night. So one person cannot be trying to sleep and the other one is trying to make a phone call. That's very unfair, because definitely you'll be disturbing the individual. And even for you, you need that time of night to rest. So you'll be more functional the following day, because you owe it to yourself and your family to be useful. Then we should have time we check our email during the day. It cannot be ATM, anytime message. So it means now I have to, that message has come, I should attend to it. Another one has come. No, it's not an ATM. It shouldn't be an ATM. So once we have all these guidelines and we respect them, it will minimize the disruption, they bring into our lives, and we'll still enjoy the benefit of having them to use. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gloria. Keep your questions coming in, and then keep on voting for the question you want to be answered. They will be given priority. So I have lots of them here, and I'll take the one with the highest votes. I'll begin with this one that says, is it right for a wife to oppose her husband anytime the husband is attending to a technician who came to fix something in the house and wanted to make sure she takes charge of what the husband is supposed to do? Interesting question, isn't it? I will go to the second one that says, I have 2 young kids in primary school and my wife studying for her exams as well. I have my daily job with projects to deliver. At the moment, I juggle between my work, teaching the kids, and also assisting my wife with some household chores. Wow, that's a lot. I would like Engineer Charles to tell me how he would have managed the situation if he was. Charles, that is coming to you. I'll just add the third one to the bouquet. How do you get your husband to know that some relationships he keeps is a threat to our marriage, especially female relationships, and not offending him? So these are 3, you just make your choice, but I think one is directed to you, Charles. So who goes in first? Chantal, who goes in first? Gloria? Oh, Gloria, you have to unmute your mic and start again. Yeah, that's the drill. Good. Okay.
Well, about the individual or the wife who is trying to take over, the discussion, I think there's no cost for that. Husband and wife life is no competition. If your husband is already dealing with this issue, if you have suggestions to make, which he has not covered, you suggest them to him. And unless he calls you to say, okay, honey, what do you think? So it's not to take over, because we'll be exhibiting lack of unity to the person, whether it's a plumber or electrician, whoever it is, the workman that is, that we are trying to deal with. So we don't want to make them feel, look at these people, they are not well put together. They might not even get liver to tell his wife to shut up, or the wife doesn't know that he has to give the husband some slack, to make his own mistake or whatever it is. So there's need to have that understanding, and let him deal. If there's anything that needs to be added, you just add it to it and, move on. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody coming in? Charles? Chantal? Because I have some more interesting ones here that have more votes. I'm seeing 6 votes. Okay, Charles?
Oh, wow. Okay. Let me see if I think Chantal is speaking.
Is she?
If you want mute.
Unmute your mic.
Okay.
No, go ahead, Mr. Osezua.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. The number of questions, but I think one was directed at me. The gentleman or lady that has, gentleman in this case, whose wife is taking an exam, has 2 boys in the school, and he has to do homework, and he also has to manage the house, and he has his own project to deliver. I think it fits in very appropriately into our discussions this morning, because what we were saying earlier was that COVID-19 has created a unique situation. I mean, when you are young in marriage, we multitask. I will tell you a personal story later, but I think just for the quick ones, look, there are sacrifices we have to make at different stages in our lives to ensure the project, that the things we need to do or achieve during that stage in life are achieved. So you're doing very well. You are able to multitask. You're achieving in the office. You're able to pay your kids for school, and you're helping your wife with her studies, and at the same time being able to do some work or take care of some of the chores. So these are natural, but it is a pillar that builds up a family. What you're doing is investing in your family. You're building a treasure, a family treasure. You're building solidarity, you're building friendship and trust. And I think these are really key pillars of a bright and cheerful home, a happy and cheerful family atmosphere. Because when you help your kids, you bond. So you're doing the right thing, and I'm struggling to see what else do I tell you, because it wasn't like your spouse or your wife in this case is neglecting her responsibility. No, you are a team. And as a squad on a mission, you have to, you don't leave your partner behind. You don't want anything to be behind. And I'm sure once she's finished with her exams, she will also pick up some slack. And your love for her enables you to, you are encouraging her also. So when she has time, she will work. So you are building a very powerful family, and may God bless you in that process.
All right, thank you. I'll take these 3. Well, let's see. How do you deal with a spouse who is not interested in self-improvement in the area of marriage? Someone who easily gets bored and switches off when it comes to books, videos, or talks on marriage. Another one. How do you get your husband to know that some relationships that he keeps is a threat to our marriage, especially female relationships, and to communicate this to him without offending him?
Okay, you want to start?
I like to start by telling the individual, you see, yes, there are friends, you make friends, but you have to be sensitive, to the emotional impact of your friendship, and whoever you are, you are making that friendship with, especially with the people of opposite sex. It is important that you do not, go too far. So if you have, you know, if you have somebody who is not really somebody you should, you know, deal with, I think it's better you let your spouse know that, you know what, this individual, this relationship is not a healthy one. It's not a healthy one, and you have to pay attention to what is going on there, because your spouse, your wife, feels the need to be protected. You tell me, oh, you have nothing with this person. We are just friends. But, you know, emotional, you know, attachment does a lot to a relationship. That if it's a physical attachment, you can move away and you are good. But emotional attachment, if you indulge in it for too long, the tendency is you might even be with your wife and she says something, your mind goes to your friend, your female friend. Oh yeah, how will she have responded? Oh, this one sounds like what, you know, Miss whatever would have told me and all that. So for that, you have to be careful. Protect your relationship, because that is your first, you know, commandment, you know, in the family. You have to protect your relationship and ensure that it is secured against external, you know, prying. And we shouldn't open it up, you know, by overly getting involved with people of the, you know, opposite sex.
All right, Charles.
Okay, I think really, Charles, what I would say is, add to what Gloria has said, is that having a relationship with the opposite sex is a slippery slope.
Gloria, mute your mic. Gloria, mute your mic.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's a slippery slope, and I think Gloria has said that. But there's always the rationalization to say, well, I trust myself. But you are creating anguish, for some anxiety and anguish for somebody who is imagining what you are doing. And I think really they are better avoided. What I've done in my life, I mean, I can say here, I got married as a student, and of course, Gloria and I were very young. So I had classmates and I had a lot of their friends, really. But I tell you honestly, first I thought Gloria and I, being friends with those people helps. But what you soon find out, if you're still anxious about anyone, it's to negotiate and say, okay, we must stop this relationship because my wife is not happy. And I think sometimes we need to be very clear with each other, particularly in marriage, because you are building trust. If there's anything that comes in between you that weakens that trust, there's a problem. And I think that same trust will take to the first question I think Gloria commented on, about the housewife who is shadowing her husband when the workmen come to the house. The same issue is about trust. But it could also be temperament. So in the two cases, we find temperament. There are those who are just gregarious, they're extrovert, they may not mean anything. But so long as your spouse is not happy about it, stop it.
Thank you. There's this very brief one here, which is, what can one do when your suggestions are always irritating?
When your suggestions are always irritating. So the first thing I think you should do is to look at how you present, you know, these suggestions. Do you present it as something that is good for the family? It would be nice if we can do this together, or if we can effect this change in our lives, or we can, whatever it is. Or do you go there and give instructions? Because there's usually that resistance if you feel that your opinion doesn't count. So you come and you get it across, take it or leave it kind of attitude. that can, cause such a rebuff. Each time you come, it's like, okay, a rubber stamp. So it's either you take it, so no, it doesn't go. So there's that resistance. Then flipping the coin again, it can be that the individual who is receiving your spouse, whom you are trying to suggest this to, out of pride and self-conceit, what we talk about today, contempt, out of pride, may not want to take your opinion because they feel, their own is superior, and you cannot, if I let you now, you are going to be ruling me. But the truth is, you are in this business of love and life together. And what the best you can do, the very best path to, happiness is called compromise. So if your spouse makes any suggestion, your own is to look, how does this, solve our mutual problem? If you have an idea, put it forward and you talk about it. The one that, best suits the occasion or solves best the problem, both of you, take it and move on. Not me against you. It's us against the world.
Now, how do you get your husband? Hey, this one, the voters just tilted the balance. Okay. How do you express yourself to your spouse without getting mad at him? In the sense, using meaningful words out of anger. Okay. Now move to this other one. The questions are alternating because of the vote. Question: what is the best way to deal with defensiveness, especially when disappointing excuses are always given? Comment: I have found out that trying to make self happy is to commend her cooking, dressing, hair appearance, etc. Yeah. I don't know. Have we gotten any of these?
Well,
okay. No, Charles, we like this. Charles and Gloria.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for marriages where the wife earns a lot more than the husband?
Okay, we'll come to that. But
okay.
let's quickly take the one of defensiveness.
Okay, good.
Now, if during my my first answer, my first question, I did mention that is something we must avoid, to be defensive. What does defensiveness mean? It means, what is my fault? I'm making it my spouse's fault. How does that work? Okay. Now, we are supposed to go have a party or go to a party and we are late. The next thing is, I tell my spouse, this is defensiveness. I tell my spouse, we shouldn't have been late now. It's your fault because you didn't wake me up. You get it? So preempting your spouse, the accusation that may come, and you make your fault his own. So the best thing is to take responsibility and apologize. That is the way that's the antidote for defensiveness. Oh, I can see we are running late for this party. I'm really sorry. I should be more attentive to time. So with that, you are lubricating. You remember we said lubrication of your relationship, of your love. When your spouse hears that you have accepted, the responsibility of what has happened, it's more likely to even assist to speed up whatever it is, so you'll be able to go to where you are going. So that choice of language, always positive. Criticism, you have to, express your feelings instead of criticizing somebody else.
All right. So, any other comment? Because there's this one on quantity and quality time for you, Charles. All right. Continue.
Which one again?
No. Continue.
Quality.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the one I have here, two of them actually. One was
Gloria, your mic.
when your wife earns more money than you.
Yes.
I would say, welcome to the new world. I mean, it's the new world, guys. I tell people when we talk sometimes they are amazed. I say, we are a team. There are times in my life my wife earns more than me, and there are times in my life I earn more than her. We actually play, different roles. I go back many years. I say when we came to Nigeria after graduating in the US, my wife had a job. I was unemployed. I was a houseman. But it really didn't matter because we are a team. And so we carried on. I take the kids to daycare, and my day job was to go look for a job. Eventually, I got a job. Now I was not the Oga because I had more money, but it really didn't matter. We plan, we budget, and it doesn't, why I say it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter who administers, who executes, because we have different temperaments. So it depends on how you manage your income. It shouldn't really matter who earns more. And what I tell families or couples when they have this financial, because there's always a financial challenge. People always have this issue. I say, look, guys, God blesses the family and He chooses through who the money should come to the family. It's like my business today. I have a accounting department. There are so many of the accountants inside. But all the money goes through accounting department. It doesn't matter which unit or department is generating the income. We have a corporate budget and departmental budget. I think the same rule should apply in the family. And then you can let somebody else administer because you want oversight. People get scandalized when I say, Gloria is keeping my checkbook. Well, now with the credit card and ATM, it doesn't really matter much. But that's the way it is, because you have to know the temperament of your spouse, whether they are the one to give away the family treasure before they get home or not. So you have to know the financial personality of your spouse and work it into the family. So really, I would not be worried about whether my wife earns more money than me. It is how we as couple manage it that is the critical thing. Because money, my money, her money is the family money. And the family, so long as the family problems and issues are addressed, everybody should be happy. Whoever spends who goes to the market? I don't go to the market. Gloria goes to the market. Sometimes I don't even go to the bank because I don't know what to do there when I get there. So anyway, I can't say that anymore because people will take me up on it. You can't be a chairman of a bank without going to the bank. So I take that back. But the reality is things have changed. But please be happy for whoever is the family wealth. So if it's your wife or it's you, be happy with each other. Admire and appreciate each other for their successes. And so you keep that happiness and joy we talk about in your family. Thank you. The second point I think I saw still on my list here, Charles, has to do with a wife who is not interested in self-improvement.
Yeah.
What do you do? I think really beyond is to encourage them to improve. I mean, I think some need more motivation than others. And I think if you assist, maybe they will take it on. But really, if you don't have the aptitude, you can find some other things they can do. I think it's about we are constantly learning and trying to grow in life, and we can't stop learning. Somebody said, once you stop, you die. But that's not the idea. But let's continue to learn and improve. Life is about improvement.
Okay, we'll just take two more before we go. And there's this one on what can one do when your suggestions are always irritating? People are voting for that question to be answered. And there's another one, which is, you talked about quality and quantity time. How can a distance marriage improve their quantity time, knowing fully well that distance is already a barrier? Wow. I think many of these questions will have to move to next week's edition, but let's see how far we can go.
Okay, Charles, two questions here. First one, you said quantity and quality time. How does the spouse...
Gloria, your mic.
How does the spouse...
Gloria, your mic. Lovely.
How does the spouse who is working offshore or abroad, keep quantity time because it's already away? Quality and quantity are conscious and deliberate decisions. They don't happen. You make it happen. And that's the first principle. Your spouse or your wife is working offshore or abroad. Well, we are all communicating today. I mean, when I started, we said, good morning. I'm in the US. I should be in Lagos. But circumstances, there's no flight, there's nothing, so we are here. But I'm in touch with as many people as I want to. I think I will take it from that point to say, for those who are working abroad, I tell you this, I have a friend who was working in the oil industry, retired now too. He was in Nigeria, and his son was in Houston. He does homework with his son every day. He has to wake up at all times to do that. I mean, he kept odd hours to ensure he was in the family life. And when they are going to school, he follows them on camera till they get to school, and the son actually walks into class. And from time to time during the day, he tells me before he goes to bed or whatever he is doing, he actually interacts with them. He checks the class, whether the son is in class. And because the son knows he was keeping track of them, he expects him to be there. So the son was feeling his father even from a distance. And I think we need to create it. It's not perfect, but at least it's something. So it's to consciously decide what time, what hour I want to be with my family. But the best we can do today is FaceTime or Zoom. But let's take advantage of it. But it is to fill the gap. But it just means some of the practical aspect is missing. But okay, you make up for it if you are working like that. My friend was offshore. He works, I think he was working 2 months and takes off 1 month. So he has plenty of time physically to do the reconnection. Maybe if you help me with the second question again, something about irritation.
Yes, how do you cope with a spouse who is often irritated by what you are telling him? What can one do when your suggestions are always irritating?
Yeah, I think Gloria has answered that question.
Yes.
So
okay,
maybe
right. Okay, so we just take two more and then we go. How do you cope with a husband who demands for sex often and anytime he has the urge and wants you to respond to his urge immediately without foreplay, even when you are tired? Is this going on to the online course or? Okay, and then one last one is what can I do to keep my husband from not always chatting online on social media? He spends much of his time on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and WhatsApp. He's always busy pressing his phone when he's at home. I think, Gloria, you've thrown light on that, but I don't know why they are voting for this question.
Yeah. Okay. I think having gone through this section, that the second section I gave, we should be able to come up with some ideas. And so if we find our spouse always on Twitter or whatever it is to sit and discuss. Look, let's put this in perspective. Maybe he's idle. Let's get him busy. So, but the first thing is to discuss how we can, the use of all these our gadgets, so we'll have time for each other and have, more productive time with the family. So it is very key. We don't leave them to their devices. Say, now you sabi. No, this is a family, and we have to help each other, support each other to be better. Because that's the whole idea. So we put a time on how we can, use our gadgets, our phone. If he's always on the internet, Twitter, or whatever, Facebook, we allow time that can take place. Outside of that, we have to encourage them, help them, not, to spend, valuable time, family time, work time on the social media, because it has become a natural default, for many of us. But that is why this planning, this scheduling, these basic rules, we have to subject ourselves, to it, so we'll be able to manage and, not find ourselves always in those rabbit holes.
Okay, now Charles, want to add one more thing? Or Chantal, because I have
yeah.
Okay.
Can I continue? Okay.
Yes, please.
I mean, the
Gloria, your mic.
Damn.
Thank you. I think the second question you were talking about, a spouse who is always demanding for sex, even when you are tired.
Foreplay.
I think,
and without a foreplay.
Even without a foreplay, it happens in relationship. I think the men need to be more conscious of the fact that women is. I tell you, I went to give a seminar in was a very huge group in Ikeja sometime last year. We were invited by parish to give a seminar to the parishioner. I think they were probably about 500 or something. The whole place was full, all couples, and I was amazed. But the point here is this: we're making is men do not. It said African men, in quote, don't know that they have to work on their wife, play with them for them to get into the mood. They just think, oh, it's hit and go. Yeah, you are okay, but I'm not okay. I think it's for spouses to appreciate that, well, by our nature, it takes one a bit longer, and they actually enjoy the foreplay, and the lovey-dovey before the thing starts. And what I told them that, I said, everything we do throughout the day, really, sex is a part of communication. Actually, it's the deepest form of communication. It's the deepest form of communion. So for you to get to that level, you have to build up to it. So it's about being nice, helping each other, and whether it's like the young man who said that he has to do the domestic chores, all those things, they come into it. So you are building a relationship. Lovey-dovey, you become more romantic, and gradually, so your wife is not exhausted by the time you want to have sex. So at least you have to work towards the sex that you want by helping her, so she remains a wife. So it's not a house help who is zapped out by the time you want, so put differently. So there's no simple answer, because the reality is there are unique situations, but the principle is it's about bidding each other all the time and responding. We need to appreciate that sex thrives on foreplay, and we have to play with each other, build that friendship, continue to communicate, have that emotional bonding. It's something you should both enjoy and celebrate. You look forward to it because you have been playing with each other and nice to each other all day, that it comes so natural that nobody complains. if your spouse is complaining, you are doing something wrong. So see how you are being selfish. Let me put it that way. It sounds very cruel, but I think we men need to appreciate that we need to bring our wives to the level they also can enjoy sex. So you can both enjoy it and look forward to it. I think that's really where I would like to put it, Charles.
Okay, Chantal, there's something here on temperament, and I know you teach temperament in the married couples relationship program. Even if the question is put differently, it says that my wife often has good ideas, but my issue is how she presents it, as if as it seems she wants to impose it on you, and she always has a self-perfectionism attitude. How do you deal with this?
Sorry, the question is for who?
Well, I think it's only around temperament. So I think you teach it. I just thought you might want to throw some lights on that.
Yes, certainly.
Okay.
But, well, it has to do with temperament, but it's also the thing of communicating. So probably she doesn't really listen. She's not that skilled at communication, so the other person should take the initiative and then sit her down and say, let's have a talk. Now, when it's not a question of reproaching, we should not reproach the other person. That's why it's good to make, in those cases, to make I statement. I feel, when you speak like this, I feel bad about it. When this happens, it makes me feel very uncomfortable, or it makes me feel unhappy. So hopefully she's going to realize that there's something wrong somewhere. So then let's talk. Let's talk about, we love each other and we want to be happy and we want to have a happy family life. But let's see, how are we going to do it? And start a dialogue and be ready. Yeah, of course, the other person is not going like this from 1 minute to the next to be all nice and happy and listen and whatever. But we start a dialogue when each one understands how the other person feels. And it's also to explain to her, look, let's find a solution. You can't always have it your way now, because I also want to have it my way sometimes. Can we find a common way when both of us can be happy? I mean, it's dialoguing and trying to get the other person to realize that she or he, depending on the specific case, has to accommodate the interests, the needs, and so on of the other person. A lot of communication is needed there.
Okay, there were two other things I thought you could comment on, but I can't put a finger at them. But is there any comment you want to make on some of those questions already leveled by Charles and Gloria? Chantal? Because we are calling it a day a few minutes from now.
Okay, sorry, I got disconnected at some stage and I was struggling to come back.
Any of the questions you want to just say 1 or 2 sentences about, because we are about to leave the studio now.
Okay. No, well, one thing I would say is that nothing really gets solved by quarrels and by reproaches. So if there is a difficulty in the matrimonial home, in the matrimonial life, the one person who really wants to win the other person over has to be ready to sort of roll with the punch a good number of times, but not reproach, not quarrel, but pour out love and affection on the other person. I know of at least I know personally of at least 2 cases when a wife brought the husband back to a loving relationship with her by overlooking, by ignoring certain very, very upsetting things, and just making him feel so loved and so cared for at home that eventually he actually, came back to appreciate his wife and his home. It's to drown evil in an abundance of good, we could say, to win the person over.
Thank you very much for those words of wisdom that goes with the color of your hair. Lots of wisdom there. We have to call it a day. Our time is well spent. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are viewing this program, I can assure you, you are at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. We wish to thank our stellar speakers, Sir Charles and Mrs. Gloria Osezua, and of course, our amiable Professor Chantal Epie for this amazing session. Next week is also going to be spectacular. So we shall call it a day now. See you same time, same Zoom link next week for the concluding session, where we'll answer the questions that are yet to be answered. And lest I forget, make sure you get a seat in our online course, Killing the Sparks. It's taking place on the 5th and 6th of June. It's a 3-level program, and one of the levels is really on sex, sex, finance, and lots of it. You see the links there. Go and check it out and make sure you secure your seat. I remain yours sincerely, Charles Aigbona. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so you want to say bye to them? Okay, say bye. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. See you next week.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Yeah.